Just check on a few things. All right. So Shruti, it looks like you started recording.
Yep. Is that okay?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Rob Walker, and this is the August meeting of the Reston Planning and Zoning Committee. We just have one application this tonight, but before we jump into that application, we do have to approve the meeting minutes from last meeting. If you'll recall, Angelica sent around the meeting minutes, and then I think Lynn, you had a couple additions, and Angelica took care of those and redistributed those. So those are the ones we would be approving tonight.
And with that, I will move that we accept the minutes as Angelica sent out.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second
I
it.
second.
All right. And all in favor, just say aye.
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 And then any opposed? All right. We'll say that's unanimous.
Penniman is abstaining.
Who is?
Bill Penniman. He's on
Okay.
mute.
Okay.
You're on mute, Bill.
Yeah, Bill, you're on mute. All right. Well, listen, tonight we have, Bill, did you want to say anything?
No, just that I was abstaining, that's all.
Okay, okay. So tonight before us is the Armstrong Elementary School addition and renovations. It's a PRC plan, and Susan Yantis and a larger team is here to talk to us tonight. But before they do, I just wanted to briefly mention what a PRC plan really is. We don't see a lot of these and haven't seen one as a committee in a while. So I just wanted, for the committee's sake, that a PRC plan is basically, it's not a rezoning. Basically, it's what I kind of call a preliminary site plan for development that's in the PRC zone of Reston. There's a requirement in the Fairfax County zoning ordinance to submit this preliminary site plan called a PRC plan first before you would submit your administrative site plan to the county. And so this PRC plan does go through the Fairfax County zoning staff review, and then it is one of the and then it comes before our committee because normally we don't see site plans because they're more of an administrative review, but this is a little bit of a different case for any development in a PRC zone. So just for that clarification, so generally, for those of you who weren't familiar with what a PRC plan is, why it was called that, and what that means, I just thought maybe I'd clarify that right off the bat.
As one of the newer members to the committee, I really appreciate that clarification, Rob. Thank you.
So with that, Susan, I believe you were going to have a presentation maybe for us tonight.
Yes, we are. Jessica Vera, excuse me. Jessica Vera is here with me as well with our firm, and she is going to take over, given that I've given all the other information prior to this meeting. So she gets to have the fun today. So Jessica, go for it. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. As Susan mentioned, my name is Jessica Vera with Hunt and Andrews Kurth, and along with Susan, we are representing the Fairfax County School Board in their renovation of Armstrong Elementary School. And just a little background, Armstrong Elementary School was constructed in 1985. It has not undergone any major renovation since it was initially constructed. And today this school is in queue to undergo a major renovation to get it in line with certain educational specifications and facility specifications for schools. And these include larger classroom space, space for pre-K education, and a larger entranceway and atrium. And with that, the school's architect, Pete Blum, is going to walk you through a presentation showing the specifics of the proposed renovation.
Let me just share my screen here. Hello, I'm Pete Bloom. I'm a project manager with Horde Copeland Mock Architects. And as Jessica said, we've been working with FCPS for some time now on this addition and renovation to the school. Wanted to open this up with just a brief overview of the project schedule. FCPS began CIP planning on this some time ago. It was funded in 2021, and we were retained and began work on the project in March of 2022. And currently, we have completed construction documents and are poised to file for permit in the process. The permit we hope to obtain next spring, and the construction should run 2 years from when school gets out next spring until late in the fall or late in the summer of 2026. Apologize, this isn't behaving. Okay. This is an aerial view of the current site showing what is really the footprint of the existing building from 1985, as Jessica said. This wing of the building on this side, on the north side, this is all really one-story construction. There's one-story construction here and one-story construction here. And then this wing over here, which is mostly classrooms, is 2 stories of construction with the central node in the middle of the school. Lake Newport Drive wraps around the south and east of the school and is the main road from which the buses come through this existing bus loop like this. And they enter over here and they exit over here. There's some staff parking just to the north of the school, which is also used to support some of these recreational fields, which are up here at a slightly higher elevation. There is an existing paved playground for some of the older children, a smaller playground over here for some of the younger children. And towards the back of the school, not far from the Fairfax County Parkway intersection, there is a large kiss and ride parking lot, which is used for mostly parent drop-off and staff parking. This is a picture of the existing site plan. What it shows is really, it reiterates everything in white here is paved circulation, with the exception of these playgrounds here and here. This is the upper play field. This is the building footprint. And some of the salient points about what we're proposing to do is that the current spaces for the school are about 110 parking spaces. Currently, we can accommodate 11 buses. It's about 14 acres in size. We've already mentioned that it's PRC zoned. And the existing building's just shy of 80,000 square feet. This drawing shows the proposed site plan that we are recommending be built. This has the same general configuration that Lake Newport will have the same bus loop. This is the same actual curb cut for the bus loop here, the same actual curb cut for the bus loop there. But what we've done is we've reconfigured it here to provide some additional visitor parking and some more space for buses. The overall building is going to have 3 additions. You can see in the dark gray here, up here at the top. At the top, so at the top, you can see this is a 1-story addition that will be a library. At the bottom down here on the east side of school, this is a 1-story addition that will become the administration wing and a new entrance canopy. And right here, where the 2-floor classroom wing is, this will be a 2-story addition adding classrooms. On the back of the building, The Kiss and Ride is going to be expanded so that there's additional turnaround and drop-off space for parents coming in to pick up and drop off their children. There will be a new playground here to replace the current one that's displaced. There will be a revised playground here. And then there's going to be a new ramp and staircase to provide accessibility to the upper playing fields, as well as a new paved pathway around the fields for people to walk or jog as they see fit. This is an image of the existing floor plan. You can see on the right of the building at the east, this is currently the main entrance that you arrive at. Currently, this is the cafeteria. The existing administration's here in this lavender color. The existing gymnasium's here. And then the existing kitchen is up here. Stage. This is an area for the school age childcare or SAC program. And then this, the two-story wing, this is almost entirely classrooms with the exception of this area, which is the library, this area, which is some music support, this area, which is some music support. This area in the middle here is part of a story and a half space. It's kind of the central node of the school. This shows the existing second floor of the school. And again, you can see this light tan color. Almost all these perimeter classrooms are learning and teaching spaces. There are some centrally located music spaces now, and there's a space here that's open to below to the library. The proposed floor plan will have the main entrance on the same side on the east side, but we're expanding that entrance lobby and making it into a larger vestibule, which will give straight on to the administration suite, which has offices and reception and a nurse's office, small courtyard. There will be an expansion of the cafeteria, this lower corner here being added on. The library will occur over here. The gym will be expanded in place by removing some program, which is down at this end of the building, and putting some of that storage elsewhere. And then on the classroom wing of the building, the central space that was the library will be turned into 2 art classrooms. And then there will be some music classrooms over here where formerly there was the administration center. The rest of this, as you can see, the perimeter is really largely classrooms. This green space here, again, this is the school age childcare. It's been relocated here next to the main entrance. The proposed second floor plan, you can see that we're gaining classrooms and that this tan color, we have almost all of the program is really classrooms on the perimeter of the building. There's a little bit of administration and health up here, and there's some miscellaneous building support, and there's a new stair that will connect the second floor down to that central hub space that we were talking about. This is an image of the new entrance from the northwest. This is the east entrance. You can see right here, this is it's a double height volume. It's a 1-story space for the new entrance lobby. This is a new entrance canopy covering this area so the students can stay out of the rain when it's necessary. To the right is the administration suite. Some of the offices are visible in here and some of the conference rooms. And over to the left, you can see that we've added on to the 2-story classroom wing in much the same idiom that exists now. Here in a view from the back from the northwest, you can see in the center ground here, this is really the main reading room of the library that you see right in the foreground with these windows. There's some offices for the library right here. This is the existing gym in the background. And then you can see here, this is the existing 2-story classroom area back here. And this area fronts onto, there's a new entrance canopy back here intended to work better with the new Kiss and Ride area that's in the back of the building. And that's really the shape of things in terms of what we're trying to propose here. So we'd really like to take your questions and answer anything that's on your mind.
Pete, thank you. Yeah, I felt the plans you had given us were pretty comprehensive for a PRC plan, and appreciate that additional context in terms of what's leading to the the reasoning for the additions and the reconfiguration internally. It's always interesting to see that, and so with that, let's just go ahead and open it right up for questions. We have Lynn followed by Tammy.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. And thank you so much for that enlightening presentation. Appreciate it. I did have a couple of questions. I was reading in the development conditions that were submitted with the packet that the school is currently, I think it's well under the I think you said that the student population is going to increase to 800 by 14 students from 786, I believe it was. And but that the existing enrollment is well below, it seemed like it was less than 50% of capacity. Is that, did I read that correct?
The school is currently under capacity. The exact number fluctuates with each school year. So the numbers we would have included last year might be different this year, but it was around 50%. Yes.
Okay, so I was just wondering, given that factor, and looking at the parking that is adjacent to the playing fields, I was just wondering if there were any studies that had been done to.
Oh, shut that off.
Sorry. Oh, whoever did that, thank you. Oh, thank you, David. So I was just wondering if there were any studies that had been done about the utilization of parking in the current underutilization of the school as it pertains to athletic events, and whether that parking is sufficient or if it needs to be increased exponentially with the anticipated increase in students.
There was a study. We wound up adding 36 spaces net to the project site to support that 14. And really, realistically, that 14 would be students, and then there would be maybe 2 staff associated to that. So really, the number of car trips to and from the school isn't going to change that much. The number of buses has been expanded to handle some increase. It's been expanded to 14 buses from 11, so by 3 buses. Again, that's going to be more than even the 14 student increase. So we did look at that, and we put additional parking in front of the school because there were reports of having inadequate visitor parking in the front of the school. And we expanded the staff parking in the back of the school in the kiss and ride.
Well, I was just looking at the parking that is adjacent to the athletic fields. And if we're, if we're looking at an increase, if we're looking at building out the capacity of this school to, a little under 800, given the requirements for parking at athletic events is it's really what kind of preceded my question.
This is an elementary school, remember, and they don't have teams per se. So these fields are used as part of their athletic or their gym program.
So it's more recess as opposed to athletic events?
The community is allowed to use it, I think, after hours and on weekends, one or the other. So that parking is really there for staff, and it happens to double as a lot that serves these fields. So we haven't expanded parking to address the fields really in any meaningful way.
All right, thank you for answering my question. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, Tammy.
Thank you. congratulations. What a great, presentation. I have a couple of quick questions. Regarding the programs at the school, am I mistaken or does Armstrong have specialized special ed curriculum there?
They do. They have a large special ed program, maybe half the population has some special ed needs.
Correct. Okay. So, that's just why the school right now, I believe, has the lower enrollment. The children have very, extreme needs that need the extra faculty. And I'm thrilled that they're having music and art. That's fabulous, and a bigger library. One question I had is a general Fairfax County question. And when you do the renovations of the schools, I noticed in the front, you're having an airlock or double entry and I assume that's for safety. But is there the same provision in the back from the Kiss and Ride? And am I incorrect about that airlock where you have the double doors? We have so many crazy
Double
people
doors.
running around with guns
Well, yeah,
and stuff.
we absolutely do have double doors, but we actually they're necessary also to improve the mechanical and temperature control. So
Correct.
the existing building has these, and what we really did is we took this vestibule and made it much larger, and rather than having the vestibule be slid back into the school, we moved
Right.
it proud up forward so that it was more visible. But
Okay.
I can get to the new plans. Here you can see this is clearly developed as the new main entrance, and it's much
Right.
bigger. And back here, we've expanded the secondary entrance as well. And this is really a necessity for our climate, where it's hot and humid, where we need to
Right.
be able to isolate these areas. So
Okay, okay.
that's really why we're doing this.
But are there safety controls? I know at this high school now you have to be buzzed in some other schools. Is that the
This-
same thing
this-
at Armstrong?
The school is changing so that students will come in here, or I should say, students will be able to come in here when the buses drop off. The rest of the day, people would have to come in here and they have to go into the administration suite to be
Okay,
admitted to the school.
thank you. Thank you. The other question I had is I noticed the fence around the upper two diamond fields is very, very high. Is there a reason for that other than catching baseballs, or what was the reason for the high fence back there? And I don't object to it. I'm just curious. The white is the
This is
path.
the new pathway.
Yeah, and it's fenced back there. If I
Yeah.
follow with the materials that we received.
I don't know if David, do you have anything to share that would shed some light on that?
I really don't. I believe it's existing, and it's not a proposed fence. So we're just maintaining the existing fence.
David
Okay.
Stiegler is with our civil engineering team. So no, we're proposing maintaining as much as we can and
Okay.
building within that fence.
Super. Thank you so much and appreciate you all.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
finished.
All right, let's go to William and then Bill Penniman.
Okay, thank you. I would hope that you are considering vegetated roofs in the new areas. A number of schools at all levels around the Washington metropolitan areas have found out that it is beneficial, I guess you would say, economically wise, because it can cause the amount of or size of your HVAC systems to be smaller. But also, many elementary and middle schools, as well as high schools, have agricultural programs, and they sometimes use the spaces on the roof or sometimes on the ground, and you don't have a lot of ground for this kind of activity. In coordination with Fairfax County's Food Council and their work group with it is called Fairfax County Urban Agricultural Work Group. which works very closely with schools that want to start or include these. You have 2 new roof areas going up, of which many different types of roof systems can take a vegetated roof. And even if it was not the correct membrane, you can always do raised bed planters, which many do as well. This gets the students involved in seeing nature, growing crops, understanding that kind of thing. There's a whole program that Fairfax Food Council has that they work with schools in Fairfax County that set these up, especially since you have some situations with students that could really benefit from this health-wise, because it's you get out in nature, and it's one of these things that now hospitals all over the country are putting up areas where visiting patients or those recovering can go and just be there or actually do things with plantings around them. So that's my part of what I'd like to say, and like to see, if nothing else, make contact with the Fairfax County Food Council. The chair of the Food Council is also the chair of the Urban Agricultural Work Group. So I would encourage you to go in that direction.
This is a really interesting question, William. Thank you for bringing these up. I neglected to mention in my first go around that the school actually is going to have a new outdoor classroom here, which does include raised planter beds for the students to do exactly what you're talking about, raising vegetables and plants as part of their curriculum. So there's actually going to be a rain barrel out here that they can use to collect water, and this area is tagged for that. We're also fortunate on this particular site, and that it's about 14 acres, but about 10 of those acres are free area. With obviously, there's a lot of areas where they can do things on grade as well. So I understand the impulse to have green roofs, and we've done them on some projects. In this case, the existing building roofs simply aren't strong enough. And then the new building roofs could be designed to that level, but currently we do not have them in the project.
Okay, so I would encourage you to make contact with the Food Council and the Urban Agriculture Work Group. And in case you are not aware of it, the Haley Rise has an at-grade urban farming thing next to the Wegmans, the new Wegmans that just opened up here in Reston. It's one of the first urban agricultural areas in Reston put up by a developer. There's tax incentives that come with it, but actually what they do is they ignore those. They just don't bother to take them. And all the food that they develop goes to a charity organization that distributes. But they also have activities where the general public can come and participate in on a monthly, on and off throughout the growing season and harvesting season. And that contacting them and understanding how and what they do might, enhance things further, because they're also in very close contact with the Fairfax County Agricultural Work Group, as well as the Food Council.
Excellent point. Thank you very much.
Sure, no problem.
All right, Bill Penniman, then Matt Stevenson.
Hi, so I'm Bill Penniman. I apologize for the pirate look with the patch, but I appreciate your getting responses to me fairly quickly on the energy efficiency issues that I raised in my email that I sent on Friday. I have a few follow-up questions on those. One is, I know that there was a company, Perkins Eastman, who was hired by FCPS to look at net zero and net zero ready construction. And it found that obviously it costs more at the outset, but over 30 years, it is a net savings to the school. Did you guys take a look at that or take a look more closely at how close you could get to either net zero or net zero ready?
At the outset of the project, we did do in the concept design, we did an in-depth study of what it would take to get this building to be a net zero project. And the findings were really that we would have to have a really substantial geothermal well field up where the two playing fields are. And then we'd have to have a piping system to bring those to the school. And that we would also have to supplement that with a PV array of photovoltaic solar panels. So we looked at that in a lot of detail. We figured out what kind of kilowatts we would need to achieve, et cetera. But in the end, it really proved impractical to do it, given both our time frame for construction, because drilling the geothermal wells is quite time intensive. That's really, and having renewable energy on site is really the most effective way to get to net zero. We did look and have implemented ways of reducing consumption, because that's the first thing you look at. So we have done that. We've reduced consumption. We've improved the building envelope to reduce consumption even further. And all of the new construction is to a higher standard than anything that was there from the original 1985 building. So we've taken the first step in terms of reducing the consumption. And then what we have done is we have replaced all of the equipment. We're taking out everything that's existing from the original building and replacing it with brand new energy efficient equipment that's going to be much more energy efficient. So we both reduced the initial consumption, and then we're increasing the efficiency with which we use the energy to fuel that. So we have taken great strides to improve the performance of the building. Unfortunately, we're not able to implement the geothermal field.
Okay. You mentioned in the response that you would have heat pumps in the classrooms. Is that like mini splits in the classrooms? Is that
No,
the idea?
no, there'll be heat pumps serving the classrooms. They won't really be, there won't be mini splits. And well, there will be mini splits for a couple of designated areas, but not for the classrooms in general. But yes, there are going to be heat pumps in the classrooms, serving the classrooms.
Okay. Is that all the new classrooms or some of the old classrooms as well?
That's all the classrooms.
Oh,
That's all,
okay.
all the classrooms. So in this scope of this project, we're renovating all existing spaces, and really everything within the building will be new when it's complete.
Okay.
With very few exceptions.
You mentioned also that you would have solar hot water. I assume that's on the rooftop, or is that out on in the open?
No, I'm afraid I think you must have misunderstood. We do not have solar hot water. The elementary schools use very little hot water outside of the kitchen, the commercial kitchen. So it wasn't seen to be adding enough value to pay for itself, because really
that was my misunderstanding. That's all. I read it quickly and misunderstood. But you indicated the roof will be strong enough for PV solar.
Yeah, what we did in that initial concept analysis is we found the areas of the existing roof that were strong enough to support PVs, and we identified the areas that needed some increase, and we targeted those, and we designed a supplemental steel into the existing roofs to make them capable of having photovoltaics in the future. So all of the existing roofs were either initially strong enough or have been retrofitted by the design to accept solar array. And then all of the new addition roofs are flat and of course are more than strong enough to have the PV, because we included the allowance for the PV in there. So theoretically, all of the roofs that's appropriately sloped with the right exposure could be converted to PVs in the future.
And do you know whether they, FCPS, I mean, a number of school systems around the state have installed solar on the roofs of their schools, sometimes through our purchase agreements or leases or things that, and right now, the federal government is throwing money at such things. Do you know whether that is being looked at for action?
I don't.
Near
I don't.
near future?
I don't know what they're doing in terms of policy on that. I have heard of what you're talking about. I have seen a number of public schools in the greater DC area that have implemented solar and have implemented small versions of geothermal. But I don't know what their future plans are.
Okay. And just in terms of the building envelope, the superior energy design, I guess you're getting 11 of the 30 points, and you said that's in the primarily in the envelope structure. Is that right?
It's well,
Or
it's
what are you doing on the?
it's
because that's what's going to last the longest time.
yeah, well, no, it's not just the envelope. That the new envelope is, of course, can be much more energy efficient than anything that was there originally. But we're actually taking out all the existing windows and replacing them with high performing low E glass windows. So every existing window in the building is being replaced to get better performance, solar heat gain, and cooling loads. We have increased the amount of insulation that's going to go into the new walls above what's required by code, and we're taking off the entire roof and replacing that. Again, we're replacing that with more insulation than is required by code as well.
Okay.
We're also including solar shades on the south to block some of this heat gain that we would get on the south windows.
Okay, and then just the last thing, the bird-friendly windows. Your response indicated they're going to be small windows. I don't know if that's sufficient to meet the kind of recommendations that come from the American Bird Conservancy or Bird Smart. I mean, have you looked at that?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at them at the links you sent, and we're familiar with this from other projects. That the one thing that is sometimes considered is introducing a graphic to the glass, either a film or a frit. Films are more cost effective,
Right.
and that's a way of doing it. It's currently not in the project though.
Okay, so I just urge you to take a look again at that and perhaps talk to FCPS about the prospect of installing solar, even if it's beyond this project, given the money the feds are generously offering, including to nonprofits like public school systems. This would be a great time to do it, and I'm glad you're fixing the roof to make that possible. And I think those are my questions.
It's a great point. Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
interest and questions.
All right, thanks, Bill. Let's go to Matt and then David and Sue.
Mine should be fairly quick, but I see here on the site plan, there's quite a bit of additional building being built, and there's also additional parking being built. What are you guys doing, I guess, to mitigate any the loss of pervious surface area as far as stormwater management or any other stormwater features on the site from adding that additional parking and building?
Okay. David, do you think you want to speak to this one?
Sure. In fact, we've got our Pannoni engineers on the call as well that can chime in. But yeah, we are increasing a little bit the imperviousness on the site with additional parking in the additions. And we are providing additional stormwater management as well. There's a new facility underneath the western parking lot, the Kiss and Ride parking lot, that totally under the paved area. So we're not taking away more land and taking away trees to do it. It's a storm tech system. So that'll be providing good water quality and quantity control. And then the existing rain garden on the east side will be expanded. Laura, what have I missed? Laura Hall is an engineer with us.
No, I think you're good, Dave. Yeah, we are expanding that existing bioretention that was installed in 2010 by 3 times the size.
Okay, great.
And we're retaining the stormwater area just to the southeast of the building as well.
Yes.
That's all I've got.
All right, thanks,
Great,
Matt.
thanks.
David or Sue?
I'll go first. Thanks to Bill, Matt, and William. They've asked many of the questions that I had. I was most interested in what green school building features you're including in this innovation, both in net zero, the building materials, roofing, and energy features. I have to say, there are lots of good things that you're doing and talking about and planning for in your design. I have to say I'm a little disappointed and hearing you say things like, well, we've done some environmentally friendly things elsewhere in the county, or that net zero was really impractical for this site when you looked at it. And you said geothermal field isn't possible and the bird-friendly windows are not in the picture. The reason I'm disappointed is that several years ago, and this was in my mind 7-8 years ago, our planning and zoning, Reston Planning and Zoning sent a letter to Fairfax County, and this was after a serious study by our committee on how schools in the county and Reston could be more green. And we mentioned schools like Manassas City Park School. We mentioned Discovery Elementary School. We mentioned Virginia Beach Public School District. There are lots of green school building features that we want to see in Reston. And while you've covered some of these, there's just a lot that I feel that has been left out. And so I just want to end by saying that, you know, Reston, in Reston, we want to see, you know, the best that's happening in the nation, not, you know, just what might be possible in the future, or, you know, we looked at that, but it just doesn't work for either, you know, cost or practicality, et cetera. You know, there are athletic fields that have been built, and they have total stormwater management underneath the athletic fields. In talking about the permeable paving, et cetera, I would think you're putting bioswales at all of the gutters, et cetera, to reduce the runoff. I am concerned about additional pavement. And so I guess that's where I am on this.
Thank you, Sue.
And I will pass.
All right, thanks, David. All right, we have Richard Kennedy and then Jared.
Hello, this is Dick Kennedy here, and thank you. Good comments. And I'm a little confused, though. I've read it several times that we have a current capacity of 786 children, and we only have it staffed at 360, and we are adding more. What is the long-term or steady expectation for Armstrong?
I think I would want to defer to the school district on that one. I don't know if anyone from FCPS.
Yeah, this is Vince Santmeyer. How's everyone doing? So there's program capacity and then design capacity. The design capacity is basically, you know, we're at 800, so we're designing to 800 students. Program capacity. So with this school and throughout the county, the majority of the elementary schools are also receiving 2 additional pre-K classrooms as well as different programs coming into the building. So right now, I believe the programming is about 81%. So that's the reason for some of these expansions. Even though there's only, I can't remember what it was, how many students are currently in the building. But the programming of the building, so different school age programs are coming in. That's the whole reasoning for this, as well as we're currently on the 37-year renovation cycle, trying to get that down to 25 years, if that makes sense.
Okay, I'm glad I asked, but and your answer to that kind of, as far as I'm concerned, is a little weak. But it's not just for this property. I think apparently you're saying it is for most of our schools, and it's not my job to be involved with chasing that thing down. That's for our Board of Supervisors. The only other thing I would just want to add is William's comments about things that can be turned. We're better but with an elementary school, with the challenges we're having on climate change, to have them stick out like a sore thumb, so to speak, and available and can be referenced, particularly by teachers. And William discussed those, and you're obviously considering them. I just want to add my point that it's why it's so important. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And then on to Jared.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. I guess I want to come back to kind of the impervious surface and pervious surface. When I look at the plan, it looks like there's a lot of opportunities to look at going to a pervious concrete. I know maybe it's not as common, but to even experiment with it in certain areas around the school, because if I'm reading it correctly, even the paved play area on the north, that's new, correct? You're not reusing the existing asphalt that's there?
We'll resurface that asphalt, actually, yes.
Okay,
So that is currently paved, and we'll mill it and refinish it.
Okay. Is it similar to what you're doing with that parking for the faculty you said on the north side of the building? Is some of that, or is that all new as well?
No, we are preserving as much of the existing asphalt as possible. For instance, this area down here, this is all going to remain existing. And then as much of this will be existing as possible. There'll be some construction here. And so anything that is damaged during construction will be resurfaced, will be milled and resurfaced. This will be entirely new paving because we have to move this road further to the east. So we're actually having to do completely new paving there. In this area, we're able to save some of this parking lot, save the existing and remill it, but then everything up here will be new. So that will all be new paving.
Okay, yeah, and I guess similar to I think other comments said tonight, I think it would be nice to see Fairfax County look at options, even if they're, alternates put into the bid package, to say what would be the cost to go to a pervious concrete surface instead of an asphalt, just so they can at least make the judgment. Maybe we can afford it based on the bid price. Even the new track, I think, that's going around the play fields, it's called that as just the standard 6-foot asphalt. Are there some alternates that could be better, better for the environment? My last comment, honestly, is more aesthetic. I'm personally just a little disappointed in the front perspective, in that it's just all hard surface, right? It's school buses on asphalt being dropped off on concrete leading up to a building. I don't see literally anything natural in that front perspective. And I don't know if there's a way to, the existing building has it. There's some spots of green, at least as students come up. Yeah, like that. It's, it's a nice building, but it's all hard surface and it doesn't connect back to the environment. In any way. I see it.
Yeah, I think you're right. We can look at the plantings around here and experiment. One of our considerations here is just the volume of traffic there's going to be here. So we will look at that and see what can be done.
Great.
It's a very good point. Thank you.
All right, any other committee members before I go on and see if Mr. Carter has any comments this evening? All right, Mr. Carter, would you like to add any commentary?
What happens to the students during construction?
The students are moved around on site to different facilities. We have a complicated phasing. We have 3 phases of construction. And during each phase of construction, we've made provision for the children to be relocated on site in temporary modular trailers. So the classrooms that are being worked on or in an area that's a construction zone where it would be unsafe, those children will be relocated to those areas. With the exception of the youngest children who generally stay within the building itself and move around to other safe areas within the building.
Good, that's
So,
all I have.
Yeah.
Do you have a planning commission date?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. All right.
We do have a
Go
tentative
ahead.
planning commission date, which is March 2024.
Wow, okay.
The staff coordinator just emailed us a proposed schedule. Let's see on Friday. So subject to change, but that's right now is what the county has us down for.
Thank you.
Thanks. So Pete, I really appreciate your responses to the committee's comments tonight. It brings a lot of clarity to, how you arrived at your team arrived at what's been proposed so far. I do like that the last comment or last couple comments about, adding some greenery or just trying to see some of a little bit more, nature in and around the buildings. Obviously the site itself is beautiful. It's a very treed, very wooded. The open space is very high as far as sites go. So that the site has that going for it, certainly at the perimeter. And then I did just want to comment, several of the committee members mentioned stormwater and impervious areas. And so if you look at the PRC plan in detail, obviously I'm an engineer, so I do those things. The applicant's done a pretty good job at trying to show where the stormwater outfalls are today, where the existing stormwater goes. And then what they're doing is they're pinpointing their treatment at those outfall points. And so sometimes it doesn't make sense to do something in another part of the site when the storm outfall is actually heading in a different direction. And so, I think so far their strategy with their bioretention expansion, with some of their, detention, is doing quite well in terms of given the number of outfall. And I think they have three specific outfalls on this site. And then sometimes, pervious pavement, with these clayey soils we have in the Reston area, it's really tough to get that water to really perk into the soil to get a true benefit out of the pervious pavement. So sometimes it's actually better to maybe even sheet flow it off to a wooded area, and then that's where it really takes hold and really gets back into the ground and gets back into the aquifer. So it's just a balance. It's a balance of things. And then the one comment I'll have on, the notion of adding a green roof to the building. Certainly, I love the idea that this building in the future could entertain the idea of PV solar. If you introduce green roofs and you try to use that for education, now you got to get students up onto the roof, which I don't believe this school really has a good way to do that today. And then you have to then encourage or must design with it the barriers that go along with getting people up on the roof. So it does get a little bit more involved when you're talking about getting the public up onto a roof that wasn't designed for that in the first place. And then given this project has, smaller areas of proposed roof, it's just another factor to keep in mind when when, it's a balance of where to do that and then maybe where not to do that. But just a thought.
Thank you. That's a great point. And we did point it out, but yeah, educational roofs without access are difficult in terms of having them be successful. So yeah, your point's well taken. If you can't provide safe access, especially with young children, it's better to just forego it.
Yeah, Pete, it looks like we have a couple more comments here. Tammy, and then maybe it's David.
Thank you so much. One question is, are you going before the Reston Association Design Review Board?
Yes.
Okay, and do you know when that is?
I believe it's in September.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, David or Sue?
I just wanted to follow up, Rob, on the comment of green roofs. I think Fairfax County could really benefit by sending those designers and architects to the National Green School Conferences. These are nationwide conferences. I've gone to them in Florida, in Virginia Beach. I've walked on green roofs at many schools and planted with sedum and also mixed with native plantings. And there's a lot that's possible, so much more than I see here. And again, I would like to emphasize that in Reston, we should see what's happening elsewhere in the nation. We should be in the forefront. And I think Fairfax County is far behind. And I would like to see this plan worked on. And I realize you have some limitations because of the age of the school, et cetera. But since you are totally rebuilding some sections of it, I think so much more could be done in terms of green school building. And so I just like to see you explore that. And I would be happy to offer resources for them to go to in the nation.
And I'd just like to weigh in briefly. I think what it could take is the contractor and FCPS and the school board sitting down and trying to figure out what else can we do, what else can we afford, not only for Armstrong, but maybe for other schools in that age category that do need renovations and expansions. So
maybe just visit Discovery Elementary. It's right in Arlington. Manassas City Park Schools, the architects that built that. There's just so much that could be done.
Thank you.
Thanks, David and Sue. Mr. Pease.
Okay, also to point out probably, I don't know, a little known fact, there is an independent testing agency which created a lot of, I guess you would say, the supporting documentation and the ability to actually test different panels of vegetated systems, thicknesses of soil, and stormwater events, and have that part of the calculations for stormwater retention, detention systems. And that's located in Culpeper, Virginia. And you can contact them directly, and they'll arrange tours and setups and whatnot. They can actually tell you what a different tray system or earth covered system would cost in terms of weight.
Are you referring to Semper Green in Culpeper?
Well, Semper Green is the company where they are located, but they actually are the site also for an independent testing agency. It's called, it's under the name of the Purple Roof System. If you look that up, it will show you the links to the actual independent testing agency. They have a person that comes in from Germany, I think it is, once a month that actually oversees a lot of the testing. but they can run in different configurations and show the efficiency of it and what the weight of it would be and everything else. They can assist in doing the calculations that the civil engineer would need to do to show the performance requirements. But I've gone there many times for tours with different professional groups. Yeah, it's located at the Semper Green site in Culpeper.
Thank you.
Thanks, William. All right. I think that's it for committee comments and questions. Anybody from the public? I don't have anybody's else's hand up. Any final words from the applicant and next steps? Susan, do you want to?
Hi, Rob, it's Susan. Yes, we'll probably convene with our team and talk about these after the this week. And get back to you on some of the comments and some of the thoughts that you've provided to us.
Okay, great. And then, yeah, then let us know when you'd like to come back to the group. It sounds you have a little bit of time here with a potential March PC date, but we do appreciate you coming out early and then maybe by the time we see you again, you'll have, county comments as well, and we could know where the application stands with the county as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Well, listen, we appreciate your team's time and the great presentation and so far, a lot of good materials that have been provided on the project, and we wish you all luck with the project and welcome it in the community.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
It's been a pleasure. We really appreciate the opportunity to present it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, so committee members, that's it for our formal agenda tonight. I did want to mention we do have an application coming before us in September. It is the return of Isaac Newton Square Block N2 for their final development plan. I'm guessing that's probably for a vote in September for that project, but I have not seen the packet yet. Does anybody on the committee have any thing they want to mention or add or?
Can I ask, have we gotten anywhere on our new website?
Tammy, that's on me. I have not made any progress with Michelle on that, and I think we've got to go in a different direction and figure out another route with that.
Is anybody else on the committee a techie that can maybe help Rob with this?
If
So
you
this
are,
is Jared.
I'll offer. I will.
Yes.
I will offer.
And
I
Rob,
will
I can
offer.
help out too. I do a lot of file management and sharing and all that fun stuff at work. So.
Well, I've done web management for the American Association of University Women for the Reston Herndon branch.
Great. Maybe the three of us can talk offline and we can get something
Sounds good.
really started with that. I appreciate that. You're volunteering.
Thank you. I did not mean to set people up, but I was trying.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
You
My
know
nose
who
is
the
growing.
techies are, Tammy.
Oh.
All right. If there is nothing else, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
All right.
Second, William.
All right. All in favor, just
Aye.
raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm
Thank you.
assuming
Thanks,
no one's
Rob.
gonna object. All
Thanks,
right, thanks,
John.
everybody.
Good night, everybody. That was a great
Bye.
project, by the way.
Thanks.